Good morning and welcome to CPC Sports and the Kenton County Schools Network Television for the Northern Kentucky Cross Country Championship Regional Competition. I tell you, this is a beautiful day for a race. The race has just begun and the girls are headed towards the woods. This is the Single A Girls Championship race. Joining me for today's coverage is former regional championship runner Jamie Baker from Silver Grove. She now teaches in Kenton County Schools. And to my immediate left is Rod Pierce, former cross-country coach at Simon Kenton High School and a former coach, my assistant coach, and a coach in his own right. And I tell you, this is a beautiful day, Jamie, Rod, for a race.
It sure is, Tim.
We've got them coming right out of the woods now, and it's hard to tell. I know I'm looking at an awful lot of red coming out of there, and I think St. Henry is the favored school today.
We have
Well, it certainly appears that St. Henry has a nice pack at the front of the lead here.
up. They have a nice pack up in front already.
I tell you, this brings back an awful lot of memories. I know it's been quite a few years since I've been coaching cross country, but this brings back all of the excitement of cross country right now.
It's very clear that St. Henry's coming out with a business in mind. They've established themselves already at the front, and they've already got a pack going.
It still looks as if St. Henry is got that nice pack together, and that's the key in looking at any cross-country race, making sure that you've got a nice, neat pack up front. I'll tell you, there's got to be a few of the folks out there in the viewing audience that aren't actually familiar with cross-country, and maybe you want to explain the scoring to them, exactly how a team is able to win an event.
Jamie, you were state champ. What happened with you when you had a team like that?
Well, the top 5 finishers for each team, their places will count as their score for the team. So the secret to this game is to have the lowest score possible to win. And it looks today that St. Henry, like we just said, has a very nice pack. It looked like they had 4 runners right there at the front of the entire group. So, of course, their top 5 finishers, they'll just add up their places, and that'll be their composite score for St. Henry today.
This is a beautiful scene. I'm looking at the monitor and looking at all those runners, all those beautiful colors coming down the hill. This is an exciting part of the race. They're not tired yet. All the kids are still striding out, but here's the first real challenge. They're coming up that first big hill.
Well, what's nice about the cross country, it's so pure as a sport, is you look at all these runners in the middle of the pack here, and they're part of the win and lose that thing here is they have to score for their team, and it's not just the front runners. You can have one good front runner and nobody else behind, but if you've got a good solid pack, even if they're back, they're part of the scoring system. So that's what makes it so appealing. You don't have to be a state champion. You can just be part of a team, and you can make the difference between your team winning and losing.
That's a good point, Rod. And every single runner counts today, in every single race. Each runner makes a difference.
Well, a lot of times, the races are won or lost by those final 2 runners, the 6th and 7th runner. They're the markers. For every one of the other top 5 in a team that they pick off, that boosts the score. So sometimes we tend to overlook those last 2 runners.
Very true. Very true.
Here's we have 2 St. Henry runners, I believe.
Well, we also might want to talk just a little bit about the length of the race today. Years ago, cross country, the girls only ran like 2 miles. I was very, very upset. I was glad to see when the state, in its wisdom, finally said, the girls can run just as far as the boys, and they bumped it up to a full 5K, just like the boys.
Well, if I can reflect back, when I was in high school, it was a 2-mile distance,
right?
And they didn't change it. And I think a lot of it was in demand of colleges trying to get some type of legitimate times on people as far as scholarships, and the rest of the country ran 5Ks, and we were still stuck with the 2-mile distance. So I think the 5K has been good to be able to give people legitimate times to offer to colleges and to, to look as far as national rankings and things like that. The 2 girls up front look real strong. Looks like they're working together. really helps out when you've got a partner to work with up there.
Well, at this particular point, as you can see on the course, St. Henry has an impressive lead. It looks as if they've got the top 3 runners, and those 2 young ladies, are running it shoulder to shoulder.
And I believe one is a St. Henry and one might be a Holy Cross runner.
Jamie, you've been used to running out in the front at this particular point. When you've got another girl right there, do you all communicate? Did you talk backwards and forth about drafting off each other, picking up the win?
We do, and that's a camaraderie that you'll make with other competitors. You do talk to each other. You even encourage each other. I remember races where maybe I was falling a little bit behind, and I would hear this voice say, "Come on, Jamie," or "Keep up, Jamie." And it's just a tremendous sportsmanship with cross country. It really, truly is a fantastic sport.
Well, Jamie, when you were regional champ years ago, we won't say how far, but you were just a mere babe in arms. You were running. I think you won the state when you were in the 8th grade. Usually you were so far in front of my girls, it didn't make much difference. But I do know that camaraderie was always there. My girls used to have the utmost respect for you, and many of them wish that they could be half as good as you were.
Well, thank you, Tim. It really, I have such fond memories of my entire school career, mostly due to cross-country meets. You get to meet other athletes from other schools. You make friendships that last a lifetime.
Well, that's the real beauty of this particular sport. On any given day, if you beat your time, everybody is a winner.
That's right. You every day at practice, every single meet, you compete, and you have a chance to come out being a step ahead of yourself and of your own game.
Well, at this point, the runners, many of them have passed by our vantage point, and they're way back on the back portion of the course, dropping down into the woods. And that's the beauty of cross country. It's the terrain. I used to always love a course that disappeared, that dropped into the woods, gave the runners an opportunity to experience the sport in its purest form.
Well, and I think on this course especially, Jamie and I were talking earlier, there's a lot of strategy involved because you don't have a wide berth on the trails. So this is a matter of, if you're going into a bottleneck, you're going to have to make the cut first if you're wanting to stay there. And so there is strategy involved. It's not just being fast. It's being someplace the first and someplace cutting the corner closer. You're going to have to get up there closer to get by there first. And so there is strategy involved down in the trails, and you're not going to be able to run 3 and 4 people wide down there, so that's going to make a big difference.
Well, one factor that the folks in the viewing audience aren't going to be able to see is the mud down in the woods. Today is definitely a day for spikes. I know a lot of the runners don't like to wear them. There's not as much padding or whatever. But today you shift from the short spikes to the long spikes to dig. And when they come up out of the woods, that's a very, very steep hill that they've got to come up.
Jamie, share what you saw down there when we walked down there earlier.
It's nice and soft. The ground is nice and soft. Certainly a good day for the long spikes, a good day for tape on your shoes. Days like today, we could see a runner coming up with one shoe on, one shoe still in the mud, down in the hill there.
Well, I remember a beautiful race out at Boone Woods when Todd Downs had his spikes pulled off, sucked off by the mud, and he ran the entire race barefooted. And that's something I hope no one has to do today.
But that's part of the fun too. Is cross country that's what's kind of the ambiance, the mud, and it's not ideal, but that's part of the sport is the mud and the slop, and everybody has to run through it. So it's not any more or less disadvantage from one person to another. The top girls have to go through it as well as the people in the back. So again, there's strategy there. Is everybody has to go through it, and sometimes you have to pick and choose your footing, and all those things factor into a race.
Well, the course record here is 18:53 for the girls, and the young lady from St. Henry should have a shot at that today. I'd love to see a course record fall today.
Absolutely. It looked like she had. It looked like the Holy Cross girl was with her. It was difficult to tell at the time, but there's 2 girls pushing each other pretty hard right there. So Molly Schlarman from Holy Cross was pushing her, and Jenna Seamer. So it's going to be a matter of who comes out of that trail first and who's got the best kick at the end, who's going to pull that out.
Let me ask you two, what's going on down in the woods right now? You all know in that pack, at times, that first lap, they're still fairly tightly packed, a little pushing and shoving. What's going on in the runner's mind at this point?
Well, I think that this is the time where you're hurt. This is the time where you have to do a gut check, and this is the time where you have to decide how much team means to you, and you have to figure out where your place is and what you want to do for your team.
All right, we've got the first runner up out of the woods, and again, it looks like St. Henry. Got the first two runners up.
Yes.
There will be a lot of noise as soon as we see how many St. Henry runners are coming up out of there.
We've got 3 red uniforms. I believe one of them is Holy Cross, however. One has black piping on the shirt, and the other has white.
Is it Holy Cross as well?
I believe so.
Okay.
I think Holy Cross is number 2 right now.
Right.
St. Henry 1, Holy Cross 2,
St. Henry 3. So that's
like
a good start
Jenna
right there for
Seymour's
St. Henry.
opening up a lead there at the number 1 spot as well.
And what's nice about that is when you've got 2 runners in the top 3, you are already established, and here comes another St. Henry.
St. Henry.
So St. Henry's getting close to sweeping it. Here comes number 4, St. Henry. And then now you have a nice solid pack of Brossart runners. Now this is what's nice about the team sport is you don't have to have a front runner to win this race. And if you can get Brossart runners in there together, they could pick off St. Henry. However, here comes St. Henry number 5 right now. So it appears that St. Henry is going to win the team title, it appears. They've got all 5 of their runners in front of Brossart's first 3.
Looks at the young lady for St. Henry has opened up quite a lead at this particular point, and she's got a beautiful stride.
It's exciting to watch this. It brings back a lot of memories.
Now, Jamie, you were used to that. You were used to having a big lead like that. I mean, it's got to be harder at times with nobody pushing you.
It is, and that's where you talk to yourself at times. You know the stride you want to be in. You know I always had a wonderful coach that was out there on the course, and he would encourage me and let me know if I needed to try to step it up. Sometimes you make that imaginary competitor on your heels, and that keeps you going as well.
I'll tell you what, I used to cut the course from time to time and try and be at every key point. And I used to wonder, were my runners really listening to me?
Yeah.
I would say
were
they
they just blocking me out and being in a zone on their own?
No, they do listen to you. As a matter of fact, I can remember your son Andy when he ran for me. That's one thing he always said is out of all the people, I can hear your voice. And so, I knew that I tried to place myself at strategic places on the course, and he always said, I can pick your voice out. I can zero in on your voice. And the thing is he always responded. And that's the purity across country.
Right now we're seeing that's a third-place runner. Look at that stride. She looks as if she's beginning to shorten up just a little. I can't tell. We've got a glare on it. But she's still running. She's still running strong. It looks like.
She does look very strong.
But again, this is what's nice about cross country is the race is by far not over. And if Brossart can establish a few more runners up there close, even though they might not have front runners with St. Henry, they could still be a challenge there.
Well, this is the point in the race where the coaches are the busiest, where they're scrambling, running. By this point, they've counted the numbers. They know the numbers, and they know where each one of their runners has to be and who they have to beat.
That's where
if we could have some microphones on our coaches out there today, we would be hearing them letting their runners know, you need to beat that girl, you need to beat this one. You're right, Tim. They know exactly where they need their runners to finish.
And Tim, you were you were and still are quite a motivator. And when you coached the cross country program at Simon Kenton years ago, my brother and my sister both ran for you, and you had a way of motivating everybody from top to bottom. So it takes a coach to be able to pull a team together, and it's not just a matter of who's the fastest, but it takes a coach who has a vision in mind and who can mold a team, and that's what you did quite well.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But again, your family was a running family. You and David and Amy, you didn't need a coach. You were self-motivated in many ways, and you all taught me many things I couldn't have done without the three of you.
And again, you see these runners running by themselves, and again, that's still the interesting thing about cross country is because it doesn't mean by any stretch that they're not part of the race, because they could be the one person that can make the difference in their fifth runner. And even though they may be by themselves, they could be the very person to make a difference between their team winning the title and not winning the title. So, again, top to bottom, that's what's so appealing about cross country.
I hate to interrupt you, but look at that beautiful
Isn't that
shot.
nice?
That
Yes.
is what this sport is all about.
That's
When you
about-
look at that, I have so much admiration for cross-country runners. We were joking off camera before this started that cross-country is the most difficult sport in high school, and I'll stand by that statement. I still feel that, you know, when you go athlete for athletes, your number one runner on the cross-country team is your best athlete.
Well, what I'd like to speak for is the girls in particular, because when I ran in high school myself way back in the yonder years, at Simon Kenton, it took a girl with a little bit of initiative to establish the very first cross-country team. And look where the sport has come now. Jamie is a former state champion, and look at the girls running now. They're getting college scholarships and things like that. So that's how far cross-country's come in Northern Kentucky. Is now the girls are competing right up there with the guys.
And to be, a cross-country runner, it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how tall you are. It doesn't matter what experience you have. It's the sport for anyone that wants to run and compete. It's just a beautiful sport.
Well, Jamie, you were very young. You started in grade school running, and a lot of times some of your top runners are elementary, middle school kids. And unfortunately, there's that point in their lives. Usually it hits around the sophomore, junior year when their body starts to undergo a change. And some young ladies struggle at that particular point, understanding why their times aren't what they used to be. And it's very, very difficult. I've had a couple of my runners that were outstanding runners when they were freshmen. But boy, that junior, senior year, the times didn't continue to drop, and it bothered them.
Yes, Tim, and I went through that as well. And you're right, it's between that sophomore and junior year. I wasn't our number one runner anymore, and that was a big change for me. My times did, of course, decrease, and that wasn't, again, a change. But the team sport,
Right.
I was there to encourage our younger runners that were sort of filling my shoes where I was, a couple of years earlier. And I could see how some young ladies could get frustrated, but it's just a part of growing up, and it's a part of life. Not
Yes.
a time to quit, but just a time to work even harder.
Well, let's look at the monitor. We see the course, beginning to broaden out. The runners beginning to thin out, and they're beginning that hard, portion of the race. It's that second lap. Everybody's tired. They've got to start reaching back and getting those inner reserves at this particular point. And the pain now is tough. I mean, they've been those young ladies in the top 10, 15 runners. They've been in pain now for probably the last 5 minutes. And how do you overcome that pain?
Again, you have that voice in your head telling you to just keep working hard. A lot of runners at this point. Jenna looked really strong her last lap around, and I would say she probably got her second wind. Where of course when that kicks in, you feel good. You're ready to go like the race just started.
And once again, you see those middle of the pack runners, and when you're a parent and you understand what cross country is all about, you appreciate the fact that your son or daughter doesn't necessarily have to be the top dog in the race to still make a difference. And it could very well be the fifth girl on the team that could make the difference between the championship. And so I guarantee you that just about every person on a top level team would much rather trade an individual title for a team title. And so that's what's nice about watching the sport of cross country is you don't have to be a lead runner to still make a key difference in your team.
Well, at this time, I would like to thank the fine folks at Snappy Tomato Pizza in Taylorville for sponsoring today's meet. I tell you, this has been a meet 5 years in the making. I know for 5 years, Jim Best and I have been talking about possibly covering the regional cross country meet, and the folks at the CPC Sports decided to make this a big push this year. So we can thank all of those folks for making this event happen.
Absolutely, and I want to thank CPC Sports and yourself too, Tim, because being around the sport as long as I have, it's a blessing to me to be able to see this being televised. Because when you run in relative anonymity throughout the years, it's nice to see that let other people outside the sport see it and maybe even make a decision to become a cross-country runner themselves. It's exciting. You can see the crowds around here. They're really into it. The course is lined with people, and there's plenty of crowd support here.
Well, anybody that ever said that cross-country was a boring sport has never been to a cross-country meet. I mean, it's one of the most exciting sports going, and it's nonstop action. And that's what I was saying about the number one runners, number two runners being the top athletes. There is no resting. Once that gun goes off, these young ladies, these young men here today are going all out. They're giving 110, 120%, and it takes a toll on their bodies.
Yes. And, you know, it's hard to put into words because when you've trained all season, you know, the night before a race like this, when you worked and worked and worked and worked, it's hard to describe the feelings that you have. Some people sleep well. I tossed and turned all night and tried to run the race through my head several different ways, and it's difficult. And it looks like St. Henry girl is coming in right now.
Jenna
Yes.
Seamer's coming up to
Jenny
the finish
Seamer.
line now.
All right. I missed that. Look at that. She's striding
Finishing
out.
up
She's
strong.
pushing.
And quite a race for Jenna Seamer.
Here
What a
comes the
beautiful finish.
Number 2 runner, St. Henry, coming in the way. Here comes the number 2 runner.
Yes. That looks
Look
like
at
Holy
that.
Cross.
She's finishing strong.
I believe that's Molly Schlarman from Holy Cross.
Schlarman from Holy Cross. I stand corrected. I think I said St. Henry.
And I
They're
believe,
both red, and at this distance, I'm having a hard time picking them up.
and I
My
believe this
apologies
is-
to the fine folks at Holy Cross.
Yes, and here comes another St. Henry runner. So St. Henry now, if you look at the scoring system that we talked about, now has 4 points. They have first place and they have third place. So 2 runners with 4 points. Here
Low
comes
score win.
Brossart. Here comes Brossart's number 1 runner.
Look at this. This is the exciting part, but I want to get everybody prepped for what's going to happen here very, very shortly when we get that big pack coming in. Some of the most competitive parts of the race will take place right
Yes.
there as they sprint to that finish line.
Most definitely. That final
And here
sprint,
comes
that could make or break your team. Most
St.
definitely.
Henry 3 and Brossart 2. So you can already see the 2 top teams that are competing are ready for places. Yes.
And it looks like this girl from Brossart, she's closing the gap.
Yes, she's finishing strong. That's what's
Look at
exciting
this.
about this.
Look at this. She's
This is
going to get her.
exciting. This
She
is
is
exciting.
Isn't that nice
going
to see?
pass her. That is a coach's nightmare
That's
right
beautiful.
there.
Yes.
That is every coach's nightmare. But bless her heart, she doesn't have anything left. She's given it all.
This is where the adrenaline's rushing. You see the finish line, and you're trying to pull out everything that you have left. And it appears at this point that St. Henry is close to wrapping up the individual and the team title here.
I'm looking for the rest of the Brossart pack. They had a pack early on that first lap, but it seems to have broken up.
Yes. That's a credit to St. Henry.
A lot of credit to St. Henry. I know they were the defending state champs, and they have a lot on the line today.
Absolutely.
Defending a title.
And I tell you, if you listen to the crowd, look at these girls coming out of the woods. And
Yes.
again, they're not front runners, but listen to the crowd. They're very aware that these runners count, and they're part of team titles. And you don't have to be a top runner to be in the middle of the pack and still make a big difference for your team.
It's hard to see through the crowd. We've got a young lady coming up. I think it's one of the Brossart runners.
Yes.
And it looks like that could be a St.
Yes.
Henry runner that she
Yes.
is passing.
So that's,
That may be
Yes.
very important.
Yes.
Very important later on.
and here comes another Brossart runner just behind.
When
So
you
again,
watch these runners finish and cross that finish line, they're exhausted. You know,
Yes.
these athletes come out here day in and day out, and they put it all on the line every
Yes.
day for their team, and it's fantastic.
it's exciting to watch.
Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful. Jamie, I'm just looking at the monitor, and there's that frustration. As much as you cheer for somebody to take someone at the line, there's that terrible frustration of that young lady or that young man that got beat at the line. I mean,
Sure. And I've been on both ends of that, and
Yes.
it is frustrating. That's right.
And you know, it's hard to describe when you know that somebody's coming up on you as a runner, and you know that you're trying to pull your legs out of the grass, and you're going as hard as you can, and you're just trying to fight the person off, and sometimes you can, and sometimes you can't, and it's frustrating, you know.
well, we haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure we're going to see someone just literally collapse.
Here comes
at
another
the
close
line.
finish. This is going to come right to the line, I think.
And these girls are giving no less than the front runners. They're giving everything that they have to compete and finish in this race. And you see the girls going into the woods right now. You know, they've trained right alongside their teammates this whole season, and they should be just as proud as the ones who come across the line first.
Oh, exactly. And what we were saying early on about the fact that if you beat your time, every young lady came into this race knowing what their PR was, and their goal, if nothing else, was to beat their PR. And that's why I wish we could, get more young men and women out for this sport, because everybody is a winner. It is the biggest confidence builder. You develop the discipline, the self-confidence to be successful at whatever you try.
Yeah,
what an accomplishment just to finish a race. It
Yes.
really is.
And, some of these kids out here are first-time cross-country runners, and I can bet that if you talk to their parents and themselves from where they began at the beginning of the season, where they are now, there's a story right there in itself.
Jamie, did you have a ritual? I mean, let's talk about this. The night before, did you have a ritual? I know a lot of runners are superstitious about their shoes, about everything else. Did you have a ritual that you went through before every big meet?
Well, it was about the carbs for me at that time. Mom would make a nice big pasta dinner the evening before. Start off early Saturday morning with a nice big pancake breakfast. And my coach, Wally Reinhardt, he was a wonderful coach. He set me in a certain routine. He would come to our house every morning before the races and drink his coffee and watch me eat my pancakes. I put him down.
I never did do that. Maybe I should have done
every
that.
runner, every runner, I would say, develops their own routine, and not to be superstitious, but just to get the best performance they know that they can have.
Yeah, and I know when I coached, one of our things at the end of the year that we always did is we had a team bonfire, and we would get together and just talk about our season and where we're at, and then we'd always have a team dinner right before regional. And I think the thing about the cross country is this many years later, I still hear from my former runners, and you establish a relationship in this sport that sometimes can last for a lifetime. And I love those years to coach those kids, because you get to see kids change, and you get to see the effort that they put into it, and they begin to understand the connection of cross country and the effort you put into that to larger issues in their own lives. And that's the beauty of the sport.
Well, the nice thing from a coaching standpoint is the fact that you get to know not only the athletes but their families as well. I know, Rod, your entire family, your mom and dad, I still consider two of my best friends. The fact that you meet so many people from other schools. I have a lot of friends from opposing schools and families that I met through cross country.
And that's what's nice about it is even your biggest rivals, you respect them. You want to beat them, and when that line starts, I mean, you can still be friends, but you want to beat them. But once the race is over, you're the first one that's standing there encouraging them and wishing them the best too. So and the story behind Jamie, when Jamie first came to the school that I was at, as soon as I heard her name, I thought there can't be any other Jamie Baker than the one I know from Silver Grove, and what a pleasure it was to see her again. The last time I remembered her, she was a little curly-haired little girl that was winning state by a long way. So that was
Well, it's comical that you say that, because the exact same thing went through my mind when I saw at central office the name Jamie Baker. I said, "There's only one Jamie Baker, and she's a runner."
Yes.
And we still have some runners finishing up on the course out here today, and applause to them.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
They are to be
Coming
admired.
out here, and they're putting forth their best effort, and that's fantastic.
And especially these days when you're reading all about the health of teenagers and stuff, when you see kids out here competing and the pain that they're in and still doing it, it's a real pleasure to see them out here running like this. So what a gift they're giving to themselves. It's a real positive thing to see.
Well, I just think that this is wonderful that we have this many people out here working so hard to make this meet a success. I mean, we've got, just looking at the sheet down here, probably about 30 to 35 volunteers that are everything from chute workers to officials, people working the concession stands, the water stop. Although, this water stop, I can't remember any water stops back when you were running. No one was passing water out.
I don't recall that either.
Well,
my runners would have liked to have had a water
Most
break
definitely.
somewhere around here.
Well, when you look around us, this whole event is a production here. That you've got tents, and you have food booths, and that was not around when I ran. It was pretty much the runners and the grass, and that was about all there was. You know, I do have fond memories too. As I look down at this list of volunteers, I still have very close relationships with the parents of runners that I coached, and I had a wonderful group of parents that did all kinds of things for me that I didn't ask them to do, and that's just another part of the sport of cross country is your parents who become kind of part of the program themselves.
Well, in this race, we've had 13 different schools, represented. Bellevue, Bishop Brossard, Calvary Christian, Covington Latin, Dayton, Gallatin County, Holy Cross, Ludlow, Newport Central Catholic, St. Henry, Villa Madonna, Walton, Verona, Williamstown. And, there's a message out here for the folks in the viewing audience about getting their sons, their daughters involved in this sport. This is a no-cut sport. You go out for the team, you make it, you run in every event, not necessarily at the regional level because you do have to wean it down to your top 7 runners, but every top invitational has enough races, A and B team races, that every runner gets an opportunity to participate.
That's right, and also at the invitationals they have medals and trophies, and a variety of kids at different levels can compete and possibly earn an award. And
I'll tell you, you can't put into words the expression that you see on a kid's face when they get their first medal. There's just something that does to them to understand that this is what I've worked for, and to actually put it into a tangible thing and have a medal in their hand after they've run all those miles, it suddenly hits home. This is what I'm doing, and like I say, Jamie said it several times, it's all body types. You don't have to be the lean, tall, long-legged runner to be a part of your team, and that's what's nice about it is you can be any size and any shape and still run cross country.
Well, I just saw that we had our last runner across the finish line, and I would like to encourage everyone to stay tuned for our second race, and at this, we'll take a break with CPC Sports and Kenton County Schools Network Television.
Now to try to get them. I don't have you in my ears. I'm one of the announcers, but I can't hear you. No, we're looking at. Tim went over there just now to try to get them to see where they are on time because they're way off on the schedule. So he's trying to talk them back into. Right, exactly. I mean, the way it looked to me, they had them saying one last run out before the race started, and it looked to me like they're ready to go. And they're at the line right now. Looks like to me getting instructions.
Tim is talking to the starter right now.
It's pretty interesting.
It is.
I mean, I wish I had the two-way.
Yes, that's what I do
just
too.
To hear more or less,
everything.
just hear what's going on. Mm-hmm. It's pretty interesting just to watch the production. You don't realize what goes into it, I tell you what.
And it would be really neat if we could be at different points on the course.
Yeah.
That would be.
Yeah, I was thinking
that
too.
Would be awesome.
Like just down there. I mean, that would be really interesting to see them struggle up that hill to see where they're.
I would like to see that. I would like to see them coming up that hill.
I was looking though. It didn't really look like there was a whole lot of muddy tops or anything.
They didn't.
So. Did you hear Adam Isaac sing National Anthem? Yeah. Temporarily. Huh? Put your hood up. I don't know. I don't know. Whenever she gets there, I'm not sure. I'm going to time this, Jamie.
Okay.
Just to get an idea of where we are. Can we go out and talk a little bit next match? Can we go out and talk a little bit next match? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116,
Welcome back to CPC Sports coverage of the Northern Kentucky Cross Country Regional Championships. We're just about ready to kick off the Class A boys race, and it was an exciting girls race. I'm so excited. I'll be very surprised when they shoot the results over to us if St. Henry didn't win once again.
Yeah, when we watched earlier, Jamie and I were just talking how that it appeared that Brossard had established a pack up there to compete with St. Henry, but then as the race went on, it looks like that St. Henry pulled on out and pulled their fifth runner up there ahead of Brossard's top girls, and it looks to me like St. Henry probably has the team title.
Well, we've got them all lined up, and the runners are talking to one another, stretching and everything. You've got to feel the excitement at this particular point. I'm looking over at a sea of colors, and I'm actually envious. I wish I were back coaching again to stand there and talk to my team one final time.
Well, and these runners right now, they're going through the course in their mind. Each runner knows where they want to be. After this initial start, they want to know in what position they want to be midway through. So this is all of that training, all of that practice comes down to today.
Well, I was sharing with you, Jamie, my top runner, my top girl, Kelly Daugherty. She had fallen behind Bonnie Rife of Highlands for an entire season. She finished second to her. And at the regional meet, she said, "Not this meet, Coach, not this time." And it was amazing to see her in the zone. And we got the whistle. We're ready to go, and we're off.
And once again, it feels good to hear the gun go off again. It's nice to come back and just see such a beautiful sport as cross country on a great day like this.
Well, now, this is a dead sprint at this particular time. And Jamie, did you like to get right out and establish a lead early, or were you willing to let someone else take that initial lead?
My coach wanted me to be in the top 5 pack, not necessarily out in front at this point. Every runner has their individual strengths at different points of the course, the uphills, the downhills. He wanted me to stay in that first initial pack, and whatever course we're on, where that first uphill was, that's where he expected me to take a couple steps closer towards the lead.
Well, once again, I think St. Henry should be one of the teams to look at in this particular race.
It
Although
appears
at this point there is no clear team taking the lead at this point.
No.
Runners are still in a pretty big pack right now.
It's obviously way too early to make any
How
kind
can you not be excited watching a beautiful scene like
Yes.
that on television?
It's fantastic. And according to our program, we have 101 boys running in this race right now. So it'll be interesting to see them sort of spread themselves out here over the next couple of minutes.
101 boys in this race, 70-some girls.
77.
77 girls in the first race, and that's the beauty, once again, of this sport. More kids get an opportunity to participate in cross country than any other sport, possibly outside of track.
That's exactly right.
But again, in track, there's so many individual events. This is one big race, and that's what makes it exciting.
And it's a chess game. Throughout the race, the team scores change. That's what's so neat about it, is not until those girls come across the line and the team totals, there's a mystery. And until you can actually come across there and actually get your numbers from your kids and find out the actual score, it's very nerve-wracking as a coach, because you're trying to figure out where the other team's positions are and where your team's positions are, and it's exciting, but it's nerve-wracking at the same time.
Well, years ago, I read a short story by Glenn Cunningham, about Glenn Cunningham, the loneliness of the long-distance runner. And at this point, they are getting into their own minds, their own heads as to where they want to be. Here they are coming up that first hill.
Yes.
You can hear the crowd behind me, I hope, and see the enthusiasm.
And we still have a huge pack of boys all together.
Yes.
No one has clearly
It appears that Brossard has a decent pack up there.
The only thing that bothers me when they're running in a pack like that, I don't know how many times I had some of my runners get their heels stepped on and go down. And I never felt comfortable until the pack kind of thinned out enough that I didn't have to worry about somebody going down.
Right, and I think that's another thing about this particular course is that there's strategy involved. It's because the trails are narrow. That's certainly a consideration. You get back in there and you're squeezed into a spot, you could very well lose a shoe. But that's part of the strategy.
And just a little bump could, as far as your time goes, that could really throw you off for a while.
We have a Brossart runner and looks like a couple runners in black. I need to identify those runners.
Well, we're having to look right into the sun at this particular point. It's hard to pick up the numbers on some of the teams. I'm not even being able to pick up the colors very well at this point, although Brossart does still seem to have a large group up there with St. Henry.
Looks like we have two runners in blue. I don't know what school that is at this point.
It's funny. I guess it's the age. My eyes are playing tricks on me. It looks green to me.
Like you said, that glare. We certainly don't want to complain, though. It's a beautiful day for
It could be worse, Jamie. I can remember.
Here's a Covington Latin. Has two runners up there.
I think that was St. Henry that had the top 3 or 4 runners that looked like they came through.
You've got a much better vantage point than I have. Once again, folks, we'd like to thank the good folks at Taylor Mills Snappy Tomato Pizza for sending out several very, very hot pies for us. Once again, they are a very, very big sponsor of CPC Sports and the Kenton County Schools Network Television. We once again thank them very much for their cooperation and support. I've just been handed, the results of the single A girls, and it does appear as if we were right. St. Henry won the event with a team total of 30 points, followed by Holy Cross with 57. Bishop Brossart ended up being third, and I think that's what the remark that we were talking earlier about that fifth man. Walton Verona was fourth, followed by Covington Latin and Newport Central Catholic with a.
And that's a real surprise as I'm looking at the scores to see Holy Cross pull it out by 7 points. When it looked early on like Brossart had established themselves at least as a second place finisher, that's the beauty of cross country. It's a chess match the whole race, and here Holy Cross pulls it out. That's a real tribute to their runners.
Well, I haven't had a chance to look down at the scores, but I'd be willing to bet it's their fifth man that made the difference there. And like you just said, it is a chess match, and you've got to know where every runner is as a coach.
Well, I'm looking at the finishers here for Holy Cross versus Brossart, and we, there's only a 1 or 2 place difference for all 5 runners. So how close? Can't get much closer than that, I guess.
Right. And that again is the excitement of this particular, sport.
And the thing about it is what a pleasure to know that if you're the runner back there in 4th and 5th man that made the difference in your team title, you can bet even though the first place girl for the team got some honors, that the girl back there in the back who made the difference is going to get some pats on the back too.
Well, in a few moments, we're about to see them emerge probably out of the woods coming up that hill. And on this course, that is the most exciting part of this race, when you see them pop up out of the woods. And Jamie and Rod both, let's talk just a little bit about that hill strategy and everything. I always told my runners to be aggressive and to attack the hill. But by doing that meant that their legs were shot at the top. What did you all do to get your legs back under you after a hill?
Well, for me, I always found that it wasn't just the hill. It was the few yards at the top of the hill, because you could completely demoralize a runner if a runner decided to stay with you on a hill. If you were to take the first anywhere from 10 to 20 yards at the top of a hill and really push hard, sometimes you can lose a runner right there. So you're absolutely right. It's not just the hill. It's sometimes the yards just after a hill.
And I would try to open my stride considerably once I've got to the top of the hill, because of course your stride is going to shorten quite a bit as you're climbing. But just to open the stride up again, stretch the legs out a little bit, that seemed to help me get myself back on track.
Jamie, did you consider yourself good at hills? I mean, was that your strength? I know
Coach
Rod's
Reinhardt,
brother.
he always told me that the uphills were my strongest point of my race.
I always thought you were. I mean, I saw you pull away many times. And Rod's brother, Dave, he was the most aggressive individual I ever saw on hills. I mean, David could open a lead up on the hills faster than anybody I knew.
Yeah, and you can demoralize somebody on a hill. If you're a strong hill runner and you do well on hilly courses, you can, strategy aside, you can really do some damage to fellow runners on a hill.
And what's also interesting about cross country is every weekend you're at a new course and it's brand new strategies.
Yes.
It's, some courses are more hilly than others, some are flat. So as a runner, it's a lot of fun to kind of plan and plot, okay, now how am I going to attack the race this week?
Here they come. Look at that beautiful stride
Like we have
for stride.
two teammates right here running together. I can't tell. Is that Covington Latin? It looks like.
I wish we could get a little bit better shot. I'd love to see who the...
Well, we know Dominic Smith was regional champion last year. It appears that it's Covington Latin up there in the
Well, I
front.
think Dominic is the odds-on favorite for the winner of this race.
Appears so. It's difficult at this point to tell. There doesn't appear to be one team that's established itself like the girls' race, so this might be a very interesting finish.
This will definitely be a race that it goes down to the best fifth man, that's for sure.
Yes, it will.
And as Jamie said, when you go from week to week and course to course, you also have to throw in the weather. And what a beautiful day we've got for a cross-country region. You can't ask for better weather.
I love that picture on the monitor. They're running stride for stride. They're in sync. But, in the lead, that's got to bother you when they're laying right off your shoulder. You've got to wonder, is he making his move? What's he doing?
And what's important, those lead runners, is they have to stay within themselves and stay with their own game plan and don't let the push of someone else throw you off of your strategy and what you wanted to do.
Yeah. And it looks like that from my viewpoint, it's hard to tell this far away, but it looks like the two lead runners are actually from the same team. So if that's the case, you can bet that they've trained many miles together. And if that's the case also, you can bet that they have run this scenario through their heads bunches and bunches of times. So, boy, what a neat thing to be able to get into a regional race and have the race go so far as well as it's going for them.
I want to commend the folks on camera, for the beautiful shots that they're providing for the audience. This is the essence of cross country. This is what this sport is all about, and they are doing a fantastic job.
Absolutely. Isn't that a beautiful shot right there?
All right, those are our two leaders, and again, it's difficult from our vantage point to pick up their numbers. They're St. Henry runners, so we're looking.
They are St. Henry.
Still can't pick up their numbers. I apologize.
And they've opened up quite a lead,
Yes.
Those two young men
If
have.
these are St. Henry runners, it appears that Gordy Dooley and Greg Robinson were their two top runners, so it's difficult at this point to establish if that's the case.
Here they come. We're going to get a beautiful shot at this point. They're going to be running right into our cameras.
And I think for our viewers at home, they're going to almost get a sense that they are here today, because we do have some fantastic camera views.
They actually have a better vantage point than we do at this point. They messed this up by changing the color of the uniform.
That's what it is.
St. Henry.
So St. Henry's in dark colors now, which completely threw me. Now, it looks like to me that St. Henry has the top three spots, and that's going to be very difficult for other teams to overcome. You figure that's looks like another. It looks like St. Henry has the top 4 spots. At this point,
And there's no other pack to challenge.
No, that's not going to be too difficult to finish up the team title right there. If they can get their 5th man here anytime, it's going to be over.
Let's talk just a little bit about the top 2 leaders. Here you've got two young men from the same school. One undoubtedly the number 1, the other the number 2. At what point does the number 2 man decide, I want to be number 1?
It could be today.
Exactly.
It could be today.
That's the beauty of this sport. Anything can happen in a cross-country meet.
And you know, when you listen to all the fans running back and forth and the parents running back and forth, you know, you can't come from a better spectator sport as a parent and as a spectator to get involved in the sport. And you're right up next to the athletes, and you can see their suffering and their pain, and you can bet that they can hear you too. So that's part of the whole ambiance of cross-country.
Jamie, how did you block the pain? Let's talk about that again, because at this point, we're halfway through the race, and the body at this particular point is telling you, slow down, stop, this is not fun.
Well, my secret was mind over matter. I firmly, and I still believe today, you set your mind to just go beyond that pain, and you just keep right on moving. It really is a mind game. Anyone to go out and put their bodies through this, day after day, race after race, it's a mind game. And just to zone the pain out and know that there's a reward at that finish line for me. That's where I need to be.
Well, people do not appreciate, and probably don't appreciate, what has gone into making this day happen. These athletes have been running since July 15th, getting their bodies ready for this day, this event. I mean, I always wanted my runners to peak now. This is where the runners should peak. I know a couple of years ago, Simon Kenton was one of the top teams. This is back when my son was running. And unfortunately, they peaked early.
Yes.
And it really hurt them. They reached their peak probably about 2 weeks before the region. And as a result, they didn't finish where they needed to finish in the regional meet.
And that's all part of the game, too. It's just like any other sport. It doesn't really matter how many games you win. If you're not,
look at this beautiful shot with the leaders in the woods.
Isn't that nice?
Oh,
That's fantastic.
What a
again,
great shot.
I want to talk to compliment, I should say, the cameraman.
Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that a beautiful shot? And again, it's quite a treat to be able to be part of the first ever viewing of cross country via the TV, because it's exciting to be able to actually see a shot like this and look at the runners run, and just kind of, you can kind of sense it, what's going on. Isn't that a beautiful shot right there going into the woods?
It is. Although at this particular point, there's a gap beginning to emerge between 1 and 2.
And again, that's what Jamie said, is and she was somebody who was used to running up in the top of the pack, and so there's a point where you can sense in your opponent it's time to push a little bit to try to break
watch
them.
It. Here they coming down
And here
towards
they
the
come.
finish. Yes.
And we have 16:45 at this point in the race time, so they're running a fairly legitimate time. They'll be in the low 17s, which is a pretty decent time.
What a great race for both of these young men that are finishing right now.
Well, the course record is 16:18, so I don't think we're going to see that record fall. All right, beautiful finish.
Let's see about a 17:05 for the first place finisher and a 17:08 for the second place.
Well, there's quite a gap between 1 and 2. Let's see what's going to happen.
And it
Who
appears
comes out
that
of the woods?
another St. Henry runner is in third place.
Got top 3 at this point.
And St. Henry in fourth. That's a pretty amazing pack right there. That's
Wow.
what cross country
Top
is
4
right
runners.
there. Now, this is where a coach starts ticking off the numbers in mind, because he knows he has the top 4, but where's that number 5 guy at?
We were able to see a few exciting finishes in that girls' race, and I have a feeling we're in for a few this race as well.
Most definitely.
And here comes Dominic Smith of Cove Latin. And that looks like St. Henry's number 5 that just came in. So
Well,
it
then
appears
that would just wrap it up. That
would be it.
seals it for them.
That's it. Their race is done. What a treat to see such a pack. That's not accidental. That's been worked on throughout the entire year. Sometimes you start out the year with a big gap between number 1 and number 5, and your whole goal as a coach.
Well, look at these shots of the finish. These young men,
Isn't that beautiful?
nearly collapsing,
Yes.
giving it their all.
There you go. You can see a guy right there just kind of finishing up. And you know what's amazing about it is runners will go hard all the way through that line, and then as soon as they cross that line, as soon as they know the race is over, then they just drop all guard, and that tells you that they had that mental focus to be able to hold it that long.
Well, we would like to remind everyone that the top 4 teams will be going down, followed by the top 7 individuals. And when we say that, that means the top 7 not on one of those top 4 teams. And that's, again, the beauty of cross country. A large number of kids get a chance to experience a chance at the championship.
Well, and a perfect example is my own brother. He would have never been part of a championship team, but he was able to go down as an individual, and that's the treat of cross country is if you don't happen to be part of one of the top 4 teams, you still have an opportunity to go.
And some schools have have a full team in today's race, and some schools may have 2 or 3 runners in today's race.
Right.
And the opportunity is there for everyone.
And that's one of the things I always hated for a while. My first year coaching, I didn't have enough girls to field a full team. I had to force a couple of my softball players to run in meets so that we could officially lose. I hated DNF as a team. I did not want to see that.
Yes.
Looks like we're going to have a little challenge. Very good. I thought that one young man might try and pull it off.
And you know the cross-country community is just that. It's a community because as much as one coach wants to beat another, they're the first ones you can go to for help and advice. And I remember when I first started out, Jack Kalen of Cubcath was somebody that I held in very high esteem, and he was just an outstanding coach year after year. And I went to him for advice when I was trying to get the program back on track, and he gave me a lot of insight and wisdom into running a good program. And one of the things was that he had in goal was not just coaching cross country, but he wanted to mold his kids into young men who, once the sport was over and they graduated from his program, that they had something else besides just running going for them.
Well, Jack did an outstanding job. Barry Binkley did an outstanding job, down at Dayton. You look back at those teams. We've seen things kind of change. Cubcath is still a power and everything, but very competitive and very much so a power. Scott High School, very much in the thick of things. Jerry Moore has built the program here at Scott to be one of the finest in the state, and you can look at this course today, and that's a tribute to him and his staff. He has, again, probably 35, 40, maybe even 50 volunteers out here making sure that every runner gets an opportunity to experience the region at its best.
And Jerry is just one of those coaches that you're blessed to have in your school district. Every sport that he has coached, from swimming to track to cross country, he has actually been named regional as well as Kentucky Coach of the Year, and that's a tribute to his coaching. And I think if you look at his program, he has an elementary cross country program starting in August, and that's exactly why he has the success that he does. He works in cooperation with the soccer coaches and allows players to potentially do both sports, and that's the tribute to Jerry. Is he's an incredible coach. He does things for his runners that make them want to do well, and that's what makes his team why as good as they are.
Jamie, any desire on your part to coach cross country? It amazes me that you, with all of your talent, your knowledge of the sport, I mean, do you miss it?
I do, especially walking in here today. I haven't, before today, I couldn't tell you the last cross-country meet I've been at, but what a rush of feelings and emotions just from parking the car and walking up here to the building and seeing the flags and the course mapped out. I would love to get back into coaching cross-country again.
We're still seeing some of the final runners come up, and again, I want to emphasize the fact that these young men are winners. Their times aren't anywhere near the winning time, but I'd be willing to bet each one of these young men has beaten their personal record.
Absolutely.
They will be able to tell you how many seconds off their best mark they are. And to them, this was a beautiful, successful day.
Absolutely.
And they're still being encouraged by fans, possibly family or friends, and that's, the race isn't over till everyone crosses the line.
And the thing that's nice about cross country too is you'll have your top runners going back on the course and rooting on the runners that we're seeing now coming in, and they know that somehow back in their history they started out the same way, and that's the beauty of the sport, is everybody counts.
Well, a good example is this young man sprinting down through here right now. I mean, he's giving it his all. He's finishing it up. And
he's a younger boy.
What a credit to him.
What a great sprint.
Yes. And he's competing. Look at him. I mean, he's competing. His race is not over yet. He's competing all the way to the line.
I can't encourage the folks in the viewing audience strongly enough to explore the possibility of getting their son, their daughter involved at one of these schools. This sport is a no-cut clause. Everybody makes the team, and you don't have to be a star athlete to enjoy the benefits of cross country.
And let's face it, for any sport, one of the things is conditioning. And as Jamie mentioned earlier, being a softball player herself and playing basketball herself and all the other things that she did when she was in school is, it's basic. It's basic conditioning. So if there's a way to get in shape for another sport, cross country is a way to do it. So if anything, it's a good opportunity for you to go out and compete for your school, but get in shape for the sport that you maybe are wanting to do it in the first place. So there's a plug right there to give cross country a consideration.
It doesn't matter if you're in the 6th grade or the 12th grade. You can still be a part of something special and be a part of the team.
Well, I do know that Jerry Moore here at Scott High School runs a cross-country camp. He sponsors that. I think it's a 2-week camp. He brings the kids in from all over northern Kentucky. We have the benefit of that beautiful pool over there, so they have an opportunity to play a little basketball, work out in the gym. They do plyometrics. They get in the pool. They run.
He teaches them
the
about
basics
diet.
of the sport.
Yes. He teaches them diet and things to consider and stretching and all the thing. And Tim, I remember years ago. It's nothing new. I remember when you took Simon Kenton's team down to Cumberland one year, and that was unheard of at the time. And I think you were kind of the new breed of coaches that took teams to a different level, and you taught them about what team was all about before the season even began, and you taught them bonding and understanding what this whole thing's about, and that was something new to me. I'd never been done when I was in school, and it was a real treat to be a part of that and see that, because that gave me inspiration as a coach myself to do things that weren't always convenient and things like that, but it was good for me and it was good for my runners.
Well, again, thanks. I certainly appreciate it. There's a young man having a tough time, but finishing up. I tell you, the shoot area. I'm just getting a message coming in that we've got one young athlete still in the woods, but I think it just about finishes up the single A boys meet, and it's been a real thrill. I'll be surprised if St. Henry hasn't once again captured the championship, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to get a few of the athletes over here that we get a chance to talk to them. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful shot at this particular point. I cannot commend our camera folks once again. I think this is the third time I've tried to give them accolades, but I tell you, they are doing a magnificent job of capturing this event.
This is a beautiful course here at Scott High School, but unfortunately there are some places where the viewers can't see the race.
Right.
But we sort of have an advantage with our camera angles because we can get shots from back within the woods where we can see the runners.
Well, this is all preparatory to the state meet, which is coming right after this one next week and everything. And the athletes have got to be excited about their prospects. The weather's holding. I think the long-term forecast looks pretty good.
But I can remember though. I've been in meets where it was so hot you feel like peeling off your shirt, and I've been at meets where it's been snowing. And
Yes.
I can remember running myself where I finished with my hands so cold I could barely grab my finish card. So, and again, there you go about cross country. Is a part of being a cross country runner is adjusting to the conditions, and it doesn't matter. You've got to run, and so everybody else has to compete in the same temperatures, and you've got to be able to adjust to what's going on.
I can hear the applause. There's still some folks cheering that young man on. Very good.
And again, what an accomplishment for him to come out here and complete that race. It's not an easy task.
Well, that wraps up the single A boys race. We'd like to encourage everyone to stay tuned for exciting AAA action. We'll have some of the larger schools, such as Scott, Boone County, Campbell County, Connor, Covcat, Dixie, Grants, running in these races. And with that, let's take a brief break, and we hope you stick with us and see you in a few moments. We'd like to thank everyone for sticking with us at CPC Sports and Kenton County Schools Network Television for the Northern Kentucky Cross Country Championship. We're just about ready to kick off the AAA boys race. The runners are at the line. And I think, Jamie, Rod, we have been treated to some excitement today. St. Henry has swept the single A schools, both boys and girls, and now we have some of the top runners in Northern Kentucky facing off in the AAA championship.
There's 99 young men on that line right now, and they're you can see that they are ready to go.
Well, we need to be looking at the Covington Catholic runners, Grant County. Scott is always in the thick of it, and the gun is off. The nice thing about the start here is it's a nice wide start, but it funnels down right at the woods, and you better be in a good position, or you're liable to get boxed in and crunched at the end of it. It's like a big funnel.
Yeah, and you have to do a lot of thinking there for just exactly how much energy do you want to spend trying to be first in the trail or whatever your strategy is going to be, because eventually you're going to pay for it. If you go out too fast, it'll catch up, so you have to stick to your strategy.
Well, for those folks that have stuck with us for all three races, they should be able to tell from the flags that the wind has picked up. And on certain portions of this course, that'll be a godsend because it's your back. There's a couple other places where it's going to be right in your face. And I guess we're looking at a times gust up to 25, 30 miles an hour.
That's true, Tim. We couldn't have picked a better day with the sun shining. The ground is drying up nicely, but that wind could play a factor today. There's such a thick pack still right now at the beginning of this race. It's hard to really pinpoint any one team at this point.
Well, every single coach knows where his number one runner is in that mess, but it's difficult to find that number 2, 3, 4, 5 man.
I think what you'll find in this race as compared to the other races is there's a much closer set of teams as far as scoring. I think St. Henry's scoring was pretty dominating in both the boys and girls single A races, and I think you're going to find in this race that the scoring is going to be a lot closer. So we talked about all day the third, fourth, and fifth man. I think you're going to see in this race especially 16 points, and perfect score is 15. Their places are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. Boy, I tell you, that speaks for itself.
Oh, certainly, and we're looking at the top 4 schools going. So St. Henry, Bishop Brossart, Holy Cross, and Dayton will be going to the state meet.
And the thing is let's not leave out the Holy Cross and Bishop Brossart, because in both cases they finished high in the boys and the girls races. So once again, and the thing is next week's a new race. A win this week doesn't guarantee you a win next week.
Well, we have our leader, and we're still trying to pick out exactly what school it is, but he has opened up quite a substantial lead over the rest of the pack.
Just the whole atmosphere here today at Scott High School is exciting. To see the fans shift from one end of the course to the other. A lot of support for this cross country race today.
That looks almost like a Ryle runner out front.
That will probably be
he has
Zach
opened.
Kohler.
Zach Kohler?
I believe Zach Kohler is the Ryle runner. He came in ranked pretty high, and he's the only runner at this point in Northern Kentucky to break 16 minutes this year.
Well, he has opened up quite a lead.
Once again, it's early on, but when you see a runner go out like that, they either are doing one of two things. They're running way above themselves, or they are running. He came in ready to run, and that speaks real highly of his confidence. If he's going out that hard, you can suspect that a runner of his experience is confident enough that he can hold that pace.
Well, sometimes you have to worry about rabbits, but I don't think this young man is a rabbit. I think he's the real McCoy.
He's the real McCoy. And you gain an appreciation. I ran against a guy when I was in high school named Todd Murphy, and he was one of the most dominating runners I've ever seen in cross country. And you gain an appreciation for a guy who can go out and establish a pace like that, knowing that there's a pack of runners behind him.
It's not Ryle. I've just been able to pick it up. It's a B. It's a Boone County runner. Very difficult on the monitor to pick up who that was.
And I believe at this point that will have to be considered a surprise. But again, we've talked about it all day. The cross country is different from one week to another, so it doesn't appear that at this point the pre-race favorites are up there leading the race at this point.
Once again, we would like to thank the fine folks at Snappy Tomato Pizza and Taylor Mill for sponsoring today's Northern Kentucky Cross Country Regional Championship. If you get a chance, stop by the Taylor Mill shop and buy a pie.
And you hear the fans in the background, and boy, it's exciting to listen to the yelling. And that's just part of the whole fun of it.
Okay.
And as a runner, you really try to tune out a lot of that it's almost like noise at the time you're running past someone. But it's amazing how you can pick out your coach. There could be 30 people yelling, and if your coach is in the middle of that telling you to do something, you can hear exactly what he or she is telling you to do.
Yeah, and back to Tim's son. I remember when I coached him, he was a runner that he was so a good pleasure to coach because he always responded to me. And when I tell him you need to get those two runners in front of you, I can guarantee you by the end of the race he would get those two runners, and he understood his position on the team. And that's what was so fun. And again, you understand that you're important to the team and make the difference between how the team does as a team.
Well, as we mentioned in one of the earlier races, everybody knows who they have to beat. At this stage of the game, they know who the competition is. They know their counterpart, their number one, the number two, the number three man, 4, 5, 6, 7. They know who they have to beat, and they're watching one another.
And they've all been on this course this year, so they know what parts of the race where they need to make up some time and parts where they, maybe can try to catch their breath and get that second win.
Yeah, and,
at this point, the whole pack has entered the woods. We just got a relay message from our camera folks down there. They have entered the woods. We should see them momentarily emerging. Of course, the crowd will let us know that. There'll be a large cheer.
And one thing to consider as far as course conditions is after 2 races, what the footing is like in the woods. It could be either better or worse, depending on either whether the runners have packed it down the mud or whether they have stirred it up. So depending on what's going on down there, it can make a difference in people's footing down there and what's going on.
Roger Brothers used to always, he carried a bag with various spikes, and he would go through a ritual. I mean, he didn't always have all long, all short. He would vary it, and he took the time to go over the course with a fine-tooth comb and decide what he was going to do. Jamie, did you make the adjustments like that, or just?
That was my coach. We would walk the course together, and through just both of our observations, we would determine which spikes would be best for that particular day.
We've got our leader coming up out of the woods right now.
What a nice shot that is.
Beautiful shot. There he comes. There he is. And I certainly wish we could tell everyone exactly who it was. We have not been able to run that down at this point.
He has opened quite a lead at this point in the race.
I think the young man took definite advantage of that downhill on the backside and worked the uphill. And that's part of that mental game. At this point, that other pack they're no longer focusing on the leader. They're running right within that group.
Yes. Each individual
He has broken the will of the rest of them.
Yes, he has. And each runner now is set in their own race and where they need to be. When you see those packs a little bit farther back from that lead runner, just as Rod's been talking about, that 4th and 5th runner makes such a huge difference in your team scores.
Well, that was always the tough thing for me as a coach, was trying to keep up with the various little packs that were there and letting my runners know exactly where they stood in the overall scheme of things.
From the way the announcer just spoke, it sounds like the leader is from Rio, and that would probably be Zach Kohler.
Well, we've had conflicting reports that that there was an R, a B on the front, and I'm assuming from the colors it looks like black, and that would be Ryle. My son teaches there. He would be very upset with me if I misspoke. That's for sure. He certainly wouldn't want me to call Boone on that. There's a lot of competition there. There he is. He's still running strong. Look at that.
And again, you have to have a respect for a runner who'll take it out like that and have the confidence to be able to hold that. Obviously, he knows something about himself and the course and even the other runners to be able to go out and maintain a pace like that.
Have either of you been able to pick up any team pack? I haven't been able to notice. I guess it's because the sun is right in our eyes. There is a glare from our vantage point. I'm seeing a lot of red, which would indicate Holmes from time to time has their runners clustered, but
it appears that Covcath has got some people up there, but I don't think compared to the other races that we've seen so far that we have a real established team up there. So again, this is where the middle of the pack runners are going to come into play as far as the 3rd, 4th, and 5th men for some of these teams.
I believe one of those packs towards the front end here had a few Campbell County runners in it.
Yes. And again, what a beautiful shot by the camera crew of the runners going into the woods, and just really enjoyable to see.
Well, I just hope everyone in the viewing audience appreciates the fine job that the CPC, the Community Program Center, does in promoting Northern Kentucky sports, both boys and girls.
And, to be able to watch a race when they're out of sight and to be able to sit down as a parent or whoever to watch a race after it's happened and to be able to see this, what a treat to be able to have that as a memento and a treasure and to be able to watch this together. And it's a real, treat to be able to have the race like this filmed.
Well, between the CPC and Kenton County Network Television, I know We try to cover as many of the events as we possibly can: football, basketball, swimming, diving. Matter of fact, I'm struggling right now to think of any particular sport that between the CPC and Kenton County Schools Network Television we haven't covered. That young man is running all on his own. He is in the zone.
And as you watch him, it appears that he's running fairly loose. He doesn't look like he's hurting at all. But you can look at the runner behind him, and this race is not over by any stretch of the imagination. There's still runners that could pull him back in. So we'll see whether he can hold this pace. The next runner's probably a good 50 yards back, but that's certainly within striking distance.
Well, and that is one of the drawbacks of being out there in front, is you don't know where that second runner is. And it could be easy from time to time to sort of settle in a pace that's a little bit slower than you should be in at that particular point.
Well, we just have had confirmation that it definitely is a Ryle runner. It is an R, not a B on the front. And it's not a surprise. We were told that he was the top contender. At this stage of the race, the camera is clearly picking up. We're beginning to see the packs string out.
And you can see once in a while the number one runner take a glance back anytime he hits a situation where he's got the angle to take a glance back.
Television somewhere. On which one?
You'll see him glance back at his competition, and that's just a little bit of strategy. Sometimes that can be a sign. It's hard to tell what a person's thinking when he's glancing back. So we'll kind of have to watch as this race unfolds. Number 2 runner still looks strong to me. So again, I think that we'll have to see if Zach Kohler from Ryle can hold the lead like he is right now.
Rod, you just did make a really good point. When that lead runner is looking over their shoulder, that could be a sign of trouble as well.
Yeah, and so you can bet that number 2 runner noticed that, and he, if he saw him do that, that could be a real confidence boost that maybe he's starting to have some issues and some struggles up there. It's hard to tell. Sometimes it can be a positive strategy just to check out and see whether you need to pick up the pace or not, but we'll see. And again, you see the middle of the pack runners coming by here, and you still hear the crowd calling out names, and they're just as involved and proud of these kids as they are the guys who are out there in front. So.
I'd like to remind everyone. Oh, excuse me.
I'm sorry, I was going to say, at this point, I don't see any one school dominating right now. It's a very good mixture, a very good variety of runners from different schools.
Which is going to drive a coach nuts.
Well, I've been trying to look for packs, look for anybody that's clearly in the lead, and I cannot find it. Our leader, I'm told, is just now entering the woods. We'll see them pop up, and again, it is the young man from Ryle. And I would like to remind all our viewers, you're currently watching Channel 22, CPC Sports, but we'd also like to encourage everyone to cross over from time to time, look at Channel 20 and see Sports Beat, which is Kenton County Schools Network Television. We should see our leader any moment coming right up out of the woods.
Right now I have about 16 minutes into the race, which tells me that the leader should be coming out, and here he is right now.
There he is.
So it appears he is on about the same type of pace as the other races. The other races finished in the early 17-minute range. So it appears that Zach Kohler from Ryle is established himself pretty strongly, and here comes the number 2 runner.
And it looks like he's opened that lead back up again from the last time they came around.
Look at the 2, 3, and 4 runners. Any one of those runners could pick the other one off with a good solid kick.
Well, that hill will definitely separate the men from the boys, and it's a total body workout. You're coming up that hill. You have to pump those arms, dig those legs in.
And again, the recovery at the top is a key.
I'm seeing a lot of blue, and that would probably tell me that that's Covington Catholic pack up there. I can't verify that as sure, but I see a lot of blue jerseys up there, which tell me, and there's some purple there too. So it appears that there's a nice mix of.
Here comes our leader in the final stretch. comes that in. Look at this.
And look
It's
at
gonna be
beautiful
a
finish.
sprint
Look at the
here
kick.
for
Beautiful
2,
Look at the
3,
kick.
and 4.
Beautiful finish.
Here comes the kick from the number 2 and 3 guys. Look at the battle that's going on.
Well, this is where the excitement of cross country comes in, right here at the chutes. And remember, we are looking, this is a team sport. Top 4 teams go to states, followed by the following top 7 individual finishers.
And you know, this is where these little sprints right here can make the difference in team titles. Right here, these little sprints at the end, taking one place after another.
Beautiful shot of our winner.
Look
Look at that young man. He is exhausted. He has given it his all.
And he should be proud.
Yes, he should. Fantastic athlete. And again, I'll stand by that statement I made earlier that some of your top athletes in Northern Kentucky are on your cross-country teams, male and female.
Well, if I might say so myself, you know, I've been running now for 30 years, and to think that I started running in high school and I'm still doing it tells you what kind of sport this is we're looking at. It's a lifetime sport.
I keep looking at the monitor. Rod, you mentioned the fact that cluster of blue was cov calf. I was looking at it. I had a lot of those young men as Scott runners. I'm trying to pick up right now whether it's cov calf or Scott that has that nice blue pack. Unfortunately, the sun, the glare is not working well for us.
Well, and that's what makes it exciting as a spectator, although it'll drive you nuts as a coach, is knowing how close this race is. It's just a matter, again, these middle-of-the-pack runners are going to make the difference right now.
Another Scott runner. All right. That looked. We just saw, here comes another Scott runner. That blue, I'm happy to say, is a cluster, and I'm a little biased. I am a little biased here. I work for Kenton County Schools, but that last runner was Nathaniel Gravely. Look at this. Here's a race. All right. Oh,
What a
look at that.
finish.
That's what we were
What a
trying to
finish.
talk. I am glad that the camera folks picked that up because that describes cross country.
They're going all the way to the line.
One picture is worth 1,000 words, and that tells you exactly what's going on.
And
Here's
you know,
a battle. Come on. Oh, he was nudged out just at the end. Again, coach's nightmare. We mentioned that in one of the
Yes.
earlier races. I once lost a trophy in a large invitational by just that thing happening, being nudged out at the end. There's nothing you want to happen more
And
than.
I always drilled that into my runner's head is do not get beat in the last 100 yards. You know, if you're going, you can beat anybody else, but don't get beat. Sometimes that's easier said than done as a runner, but that's something that you just kind of drill into your runners as a coach is don't get out-kicked at the end.
And seeing the finish line and crossing the finish line are two different things.
Yes.
Great film work by the camera crew. We're getting some just wonderful shots.
I'm going to be very anxious to see these team scores for this particular race because it really does seem like these runners were pretty well spread out.
Yeah. Jamie, I think you're right on the money. We saw several clusters of blue, and Rod and I were trying to sort out whether they were cov calf, whether they were Scott. There's just that slight shade variation and stuff. It was difficult to tell.
And we should have the results here shortly, but you can bet right now that the coaches are in that frantic post-race state where they're trying to put their cars together and also compare their results to what they think the other teams have. And I tell you what, it's exciting and frustrating at the same time because you're excited about your team doing well, and yet, you know, it could be a difference between one card and another as to whether your team won or got second or third or even made it to state. So.
Well, I was always very lucky. I had a good statistician that worked for me that freed me up
Yes.
to go. She stood right at the line, picked up all the cards. She filled out the paperwork so I could be with the athletes, and that means an awful lot to a coach.
Yes,
It means an awful lot.
you're absolutely right. I had several stats, and one of the things I did is I used, that's part of the bringing runners up in the program, is I used some of my younger JV runners and taught them how to score. And made them understand very clearly how scoring works, and they had an appreciation by the time they got to varsity exactly what role scoring played.
Rod, I think you mentioned this earlier. I just saw one of our probably top 10 finishers out here on the course encouraging some of his teammates that are still completing the race.
And there's a mature person, you know, a kid who can go out and run as well as a person like that can, and go back and have an appreciation for the ones that are back here still trying.
Well, your brother used to always amaze me, Rod. He was always in that top 4 or 5 runners crossing the line, and as soon as he had gotten his card, again, he was out there running a cool down, talking, you know, as best he could to the runners still on the course. Of course, he never ran with them because that would be chasing, and he would never do anything illegal like that. But he was certainly cutting the edges, the angles to make sure that he could get there and talk to the rest of the team.
Here comes a nice stride for this particular runner finishing up.
And you know, it's you have a race within a race there. You've got a kid running, but you can bet inside himself, you know, he's pushing as hard as he can go.
Looking close at the monitor, it looks like it might be a Simon Kenton runner. I'm not sure. Can't tell.
It appears we still have a few runners coming out of the woods.
And I think we have our last runner, Rod. I think that's the last young man, you know, down in the woods.
Okay.
At this point. I can't emphasize enough, though, that every one of these young men are a winner at this point. They've ran a wonderful race.
And, you know, as being part of the Kent County family myself, it's nice to be out on Kent County school property and seeing something this well put on. It's really nice to be a part of because, you know, it's growing up in Kent County and being part of the Kent County family. It's a nice treat to see the regional being held at a Kent County site, and Jerry's done a fine job. You can tell his staff of volunteers has been out here early putting this whole thing together, and it's a real treat to see.
Right. It truly is a family. That's the best way to describe it. I retired from the Kenton County School District officially after 31 years, and there isn't a better, finer place to work. There's not a more supportive atmosphere than you find in Kenton County, and it's a credit to the district that they put an emphasis. Jerry is encouraged to do this.
Yes, and you know, again, the same thing with me is I'm privileged to be part of the Kenton County family, and you know, working with people like Jamie and yourself, and you know, you understand what a blessing it is to have people around you of such high quality.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but here's our
Okay.
final young man coming in. And again, when I say final, he is a winner at this point.
And do we know what school that is? Is that Simon Kent?
It is just so commendable to come out every day, put those shoes on, and complete that race. That is, like you said, that's a champion right there in himself.
Well, Jamie, tell me that we've relit the fire and that we're going to see you at one of our schools coaching. Again, you notice I say one of our schools, Kenton County schools, coaching cross country.
Tell you what, Tim, I would love to pursue that and look into it. Again, just walking up here today, the emotional rush was just amazing.
I can say after all these years, I miss it. I stopped coaching in '86 was my last year coaching cross country, and I miss it.
Yes. Once it's in your blood, it doesn't go out. It's part of it. Once you come back after that many years and sit down and you get all the smells and all the sights, and it all comes back to you.
Well, I'd like to say that concludes the boys AAA race. We'd like to encourage everyone to please stay tuned for the AAA girls race coming up very shortly. And with that, we'll take a brief break, and we'll see you shortly. Welcome back once again to CPC coverage of the Northern Kentucky Cross Country Regional Championship. And I tell you, we were treated to an excellent race last time. I'm happy to say, as a Kenton County employee, that Scott High School won the meet. But, Jamie, I think you've got the results. If you don't mind, run down.
Sure. Scott had an impressive score of 43 points to get the regional victory. Second place would be Campbell County with a total of 82 points. Covington Catholic in third with 83 points. And then rounding out the top four would be Dixie Heights with a score of 109. So those four teams will be heading to Lexington next weekend.
Outstanding. We have the AAA girls on the line right now, and again, we are expecting some exciting action. Scott High School, once again, is one of the favored teams here for this particular race. They've got a tradition at Scott. I don't know what there is, but it's their home course. There's a lot of pride, and they feel the pressure, to be quite honest with you, to win this race.
Well, anytime you're running on your home course, you kind of feel like that you need to defend your own territory, you might say. But I think one of the reasons Scott is favored is the coaching to Jerry Moore. I mean, you keep going back to the same thing. There's certain traits that you can see from a good coach, and the one thing he does is he gets them out young, and he brings them up through the program. And when you see the volunteer effort out here, it's very clear the quality of coach that Scott has.
They're at the line. The gun's is off, and once again, the AAA girls race is underway. Beautiful shot.
One of the favorites today is Courtney Dukes from Scott. She last time she ran here, broke the course record, so it'll be interesting to see if she can reestablish herself as the favorite today.
And three other top individuals to look for is Catherine Alcorn from Connor, Kristen Geiger from Notre Dame, and Sarah Hayter from Campbell County.
This race could be up in the air, or that many favorites, and they all have beat each other at some time or another throughout the year.
Well, that was a yellow jersey that certainly took the early lead coming off the finish. I mean, the starting line.
And there's a yellow jersey coming out of the woods first too.
I don't know if there's the yellow and purple, which would indicate Campbell County.
Campbell County is out of the woods first.
It is Campbell.
And soon following behind her, I believe it's the Scott runner.
Number 2 is Scott. Yes, we do have a confirmation there. I've got a visual on the monitor.
And it looks like early Notre Dame has a very strong showing up early in the pack.
That looks like Sarah Hayter for Campbell County jumping out to an early lead.
So she is one of the top runners in Northern Kentucky, so no surprise there. We know she's not a rabbit. Sometimes you worry about somebody getting that adrenaline up and going out early, but she's not going to fade.
No, and she's throwing down the gauntlet for Courtney Dukes on her home course. So when you establish yourself on a course like this with your home runner behind you, you can bet that you feel pretty confident you can hold the pace.
Well, we mentioned earlier that they have changed the course here. I mean, there has been a slight adjustment in things to the layout of the course, and really I think it's better than it used to be. I know for some of my girls who were good downhill runners, there's a downhill early on once they come around, and that's where they were always trained. I always told them that you pick people off on the downhill where everybody else is recovering. I want you to be aggressively picking people off.
And, again, we're early in the race, and although she has a nice lead, she's certainly within striking distance of the second girl. So we still have a lot of running to go before we can say that she's got a comfortable lead.
Watch her work the hill now. This is important. We were talking about how important good form on the hills are, but she's using her whole body on this hill. Look at those arms pumping. Beautiful stride. She hasn't broken stride at all.
She seems very relaxed.
Good long stride. Pump those arms.
Every runner is going to find a place where they like on this course because it really is a fantastic course, whether you like the flats or whether you like the hills. It's a very nice mixture.
I'm looking, there's probably about 60 yards, 70 yards separating first and second at this point.
But again,
this is a real nice shot of the pack coming up the hill here.
Notice the Notre Dame runners up there. There's a real nice pack of Notre Dame up there early. So we have some individuals out there, but it's going to take the pack to win the race. So
for those just joining us, we would remind everyone that the top 5 finishers for each team determine the score. So you're looking low score wins in cross country. So a pack mentality is very, very important. Jamie, it was interesting. I think in the last race, there was only 1 point separating second and third.
That's correct. Campbell County finished with a score of 82 points and Covington Catholic with a total of 83 points.
And that's where, as a coach, you always wonder, where was that other point? I mean, where could we have gotten it?
Right, and Covington Catholic had their top 3 finishers in the top 10 of the race.
Well, again, it's boiled down to a battle between Campbell County and Scott. I think that's Courtney Dukes in second place at this particular point. And Hayter from...
Yes, Sarah Hayter from Campbell County.
And she looks strong. She looks real strong at this point.
She's looking very strong at this point. Both runners running very, very smoothly.
But again, you know, we referenced this earlier, but from way back when I was in school, it's a treat to see the girls out here. When I was in school, girls cross country was just about non-existent, and now that we see them out here, they have as big a following as the boys, and that's a nice treat to see.
I'm looking at our roster here, and I notice we have a lot of middle school students running for a lot of these high school teams. And in this race particular, lots of 6th, 7th, and 8th graders competing on a varsity level.
Well, Jamie, that's so important that the folks in the viewing audience understand that's an opportunity for their son, their daughter, to actually participate in a varsity sport at the elementary or middle school level.
It's a great opportunity. I would love to see more of the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders all across northern Kentucky join on some cross-country teams.
There's our leader, Sarah Hayter, Courtney Dukes. I'm looking at Scott's pack, and it's quite impressive. Scott has a very, very good pack. I know it'd be interesting if we could catch Jerry Moore on camera, because I know he's a madman at this particular point. He's running from point A to point B, talking to all of those girls.
And you know, in regional meets, as a coach, you're almost more relaxed at the state meet than you are at the regional meet, because you know what it takes to get down to the state, and it's almost, the stakes are almost higher at regionals than they are at the state. But you know, you know that Jerry's ultimate goal is to get his team to
First
state.
and second are on the screen right now. You can see them. Rod didn't mean to cut you off there, but it is important to remind them that the top 4 teams go down,
Yes.
followed by the remaining top 7 individuals. Look at Scott's pack.
And
that
that's
is what
beautiful.
cross-country
That's
is
cross-country right there. If you run together as a pack, you're pretty much eliminating your competition, because you're cutting into everybody else's score. But you will notice breaking up Scott's pack are some darker jerseys, and those would be Notre Dame.
We're nearing the halfway point of the race at this point, and Scott seems to be building a fairly impressive team lead. I mentioned this in one of the earlier races. My boys' team, several times I had a shot. I had 4 strong runners, never that 5th runner, and so close yet so far away.
I know.
Cross country is unique in the respect that it's an individual sport as well as a team sport, and that 5th runner is, of course, is vital in the scoring process.
Well, my top runner in those days was Rod's brother, Dave. He was, my top of the 6 years I coached. By far, Dave was the best runner I had. Kelly Darty, won the region, and she was quite an impressive athlete, a 5-sport athlete. She was an amazing young woman. Much like yourself, Jamie.
Oh,
I mean,
well,
you played.
thank you.
Well, no, you played. We've talked an awful lot about your accolades in cross country, but you were quite the softball player as well. You did a lot of damage to me on the softball field as well.
I guess I should apologize, but
No, I don't expect an apology at that. But you did a lot of damage in 2 sports.
thank you.
Yeah, as well as you played basketball as well. What
Yes.
else did you do?
That's it. Cross country, basketball, and softball.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, all region in all 3 sports?
Yes, sir.
I know that. Yeah. I know you wouldn't admit to it. You're far too modest.
Oh, well, thank
We're
you.
just happy that you're now part of the Kenton County family, and hope to see you in a cross-country uniform very, very shortly.
We'll see what we can do.
And again, with the runners out of sight, this is where the coach is going crazy right now, because when you hit a pack that close, you never know what can happen. And so when they're out of sight, you're trying your best to get some kind of spotters out there to get the count on your team and where they're standing. And a lot of tense moments right now.
Well, the real big thing is with the spectators all lined up along the fence here looking at the woods, that everybody is in the woods now. And you're going to be seeing coaches scrambling, counting, looking for their 5th man, see where they are.
And you notice how quiet the crowd is right now. And as soon as that first runner comes out, you're going to see a change in the volume immediately, because you can just see they're kind of waiting in anticipation of who's going to come out of those woods first, which is kind of neat about this course, is because, it's nice to be able to see the whole race, but on the other side of it is there's a little bit of mystery involved, and if somebody breaks the woods, and you kind of get to see the first person come out.
All right, our top female runner is about to emerge. We've got her on camera. We have a visual look at that.
She looks very good at this point.
That beautiful, that's still Sarah Hayter. She is still out in front.
And she seems to be running with a purpose. And this hill is not easy. Jamie and I went down there earlier, and it's very muddy, and it's not easy to get up, and especially when your legs are tired and you're running in the front of the pack.
Now, she worked that hill well.
Yes, she did.
Look at that stride. She's striding out.
Yes.
She's still well in form.
She seems to be in control.
You're right. Her form is still there.
And you know, as a coach, you watch, and there's certain signs you can see in your runners, and we can already see a change in the second-place runner right now. So Courtney Dukes has been passed by another runner.
It would appear now if Courtney is in third place at this particular point. I'm
That
looking.
red jersey in second, I wonder if that could be Connor.
It might be.
Could be Catherine Alcorn from Connor.
Now the coach's counting starts. Here comes another red.
Beautiful shot in the trees.
And we have 2 Campbell County runners and 2 red jerseys, and now we start getting the dark jerseys. So you're going to see a lot of Scott and Notre Dame come up here. So here's where the race starts happening.
Here's the pressure right now. You will see the Scott girls kicking it in. Jerry Moore will be all over the place, yelling at them, telling them what they have to do, as well as the other coaches. We have Sarah Hayter coming in. Here's our winner, and what a tribute to her.
Now the real test here is with this little bit left in the race is whether the pack runners can establish themselves and not lose track of the other teams.
The 4th race out here today on this course, and like Rod mentioned earlier, that footing back in the woods, you hope that that's holding up well for these girls.
I've not seen any shoeless runners so far, so
that's a good sign.
Yes. And there's Sarah Hayter again. Seems to be running real strong, real smooth. And again, it's hard to describe as a front runner what the mentality is, because you know that you've got a whole bunch of people back trying to pick you off, and to be able to take out there, and she's led from the start so far, so that's a tribute to her strength.
Well, she certainly opened up an impressive lead. I misspoke when I said there's our winner. We still have a lot of this race to go. This is probably a very good time to thank all of the volunteers. We've got a brief little break here, and we need to emphasize this wouldn't have happened without a large number of the parent volunteers. And I wish we could name every single one of them, because there's about 50 of them down here. But each and every one knows how much we all appreciate what they've done to make this event so successful.
Yeah, and when you look through the list here and you see, for example, course marshals, you can't run a race of this quality and of this importance without having marshals on the course, basically keeping track and making sure that everything's on the up and up and everybody's running clean races and things. And, those course marshals, I'm sure, were handpicked with a great deal of confidence. And then you have chute workers. When runners come across the line like that and they're tired and they want to collapse, they've got to keep those runners moving through the chute. So, you have a whole bunch of people that it takes to put together an event like this.
Sarah's still running very, very smooth.
She looks really good today. Her senior year, she's, probably that's a little help, a little drive for her to finish her last regional cross-country race on top.
Well, I'm sure Courtney still has her in her sights and looking to close that gap.
And Jamie, going into your year of state champion, did you have a mentality the night before that's something that you actually wanted to do, or were you surprised?
Not at all. Not at all. I was just excited to be in Lexington for the second year. I was only in the 8th grade at that time. And again, just my coach told me right before the race, I remember he just looked at me right in the eyes and said, just go out there and run your race. block everything else out and just do what you came to do.
Well, you did that, of course. You just kind of question. You look at somebody like her and how far out she is, and you just think she has got to be nails mentally. She's just got to be so tough to be able to go out. And, I mean, she is led from the gun, and to lead as powerfully as she is, you just have to really respect what she's doing.
Well, it's wire to wire. That's what so far she's done.
She looks real smooth. Her stride looks like it did the first time she came through here.
Here's our number 2 runner coming up. There she is. And yes, that is a Connor runner.
Yes.
I see the C.
Here comes.
It's likely to be Catherine Alcorn.
I think it is
one of
Catherine.
Connor's top runners this year.
She is another top runner in the area.
Our 3rd and 4th runners, there they are. And we're seeing the Scott pack begin to emerge.
These 2 Scott runners here.
Looks like a Notre Dame runner
We have
here.
a Notre Dame runner here.
Possibly Kristen Geiger.
And we have a Scott runner. Is that Courtney Dukes there? So we have some interesting developments. We have some Notre Dame, and we have a couple Connors, and we have some Campbell County. So this race is unfolding very interestingly.
Well, it's certainly changing. It's certainly changing at this particular point. We've seen the Scott pack broken up, very, very quickly.
And now you have to question. You see some Campbell County and Notre Dame
There's
people
the
up there.
second place runner right there.
Campbell County right now is giving Scott some competition. Right now you'd have to say that they are real close.
You've got Notre Dame right there,
Yes.
right there with them as well.
This is a very close race. So once again, as we've said all day, these 4th and 5th runners, and even the 6th and 7th runners, if they can bump some of the other runners from the other teams, are going to make the difference today.
Well, 6 and 7 are markers. That's their job, to pick off as many as they possibly can to bump the other school's score up. That's where undoubtedly that 1 point came from.
So right now, Coach Moore is spending his time trying to tell his runners where they are positioned in the race and what they have to do between now and the finish line, because right now the race is up in the air. There's no clear favorite right now.
Those first 4 runners sort of separated themselves from the pack, and after that it's going to be a very interesting finish, I think.
Oh, really, a good cross-country race is 5 or 6 races in one. Once that pack breaks up and you get the sub-packs, the competition really gets tough.
Tim, I remember when you coached, you had all kinds of different activities and drills that you did, and I honestly can't recall any one specific, but I remember the different drills that you did to teach your runners pack running, and there was all kinds of things that you would do to teach them that it doesn't matter how good one guy is, if you don't have the guys behind him, you're never going to do anything as a team, and you had all kinds of little different fun things I remember you having your runners do to teach that pack mentality.
Well, we used to do a lot of Indian file. That was a lot of fun. They enjoyed that. All right, we've got the runners in the woods. Here's our leader. Should be trying to pick up the colors. Yes, it does look yellow. Yes, it is yellow.
Isn't that a pretty sight to see the yellow through the trees like that?
A week earlier, and we would have had some beautiful leaves. We're actually running a week late. They've moved the state meet. Yeah.
Sarah
She looks excellent.
She does.
She sure does.
She looks marvelous. Yes, she does.
And, you kind of have an appreciation as a former coach and a former runner of the beauty of, you watch that and you just appreciate that, to see the beautiful stride like that.
Everyone respects the other runners. Like I said, Jamie, I had so much respect for you as a young runner, your guts, your courage. That's the beauty of this sport. There aren't those bitter rivalries that you see in so many other, because you respect what the other teams are going through.
And even during the race, like we said earlier, runners, they encourage each other. Even though you're out there to do your best, they really do encourage each other.
Well, I
We
mentioned
should
earlier when
see
Kelly
Sarah
Doherty beat
Hatter.
Bonnie Wright. Bonnie, at the end of the race, came over and was the first one to hug Kelly and tell her, great job. And
Yes.
that's a class
And
athlete.
here comes
Yes,
Sarah
it is.
Hater, finishing strong. Boy, doesn't she look great. You can bet there's a lot of adrenaline running through her going on this final stretch. She's put
Here we go.
I'm sure she's put a lot of time and effort into her season to be able to do this, and I'm sure she's running with a purpose in mind.
Well, I misspoke earlier. Here she is approaching the finish line, and she is doing a beautiful job. Still running strong.
And what a lead she opened up in this race.
She's gotten actually a bigger
Hats off
lead,
to her.
which is amazing.
And there's pure exhaustion.
Yes. You can see it on her face.
She came out here today and put it all out on the line.
She will remember this her entire life, though. There's nothing finer.
And here comes Catherine Alcorn, I believe, from Connor.
Again, I'd like to give kudos to our camera folks. They have done a marvelous job in capturing the essence of cross country out here today for the viewing audience. Here's the third. Yes.
Okay, this is second place. This looks like Catherine Alcorn from Connor.
Here comes
Looks like Notre Dame coming up behind her in third place.
And here is where
Here's
the
the pack.
team
Yes.
score is going to be determined. Here
I'm
comes
seeing a
the
bunch
pack.
of dark jerseys going into the woods.
We've got Courtney Dukes coming into scene right now for Scott. And she's finishing strong. A marvelous young lady. I've had an opportunity and things to interview her on several occasions. Fine young lady.
And now's where the
And here's
council
where the
starts.
excitement starts.
Yes. We have a lot of Campbell County, a lot of Scott, and a lot of Notre Dame runners up here. Now
Look
look
at
at the
this
runners
finish.
passing each other. These are the races, the little points here and there. Those little passes can make the difference.
It will. Another Campbell runner just across the line.
Here comes a Notre Dame and a Scott. Once again, these passes make a difference. And
Early on, Scott had a big lead, but at this point, it's difficult. There's another Scott runner coming in.
And if Scott does pull it out, it looks like because of their fifth man
Yes.
is coming in strong. So that would be the difference right there. Thank you.
Another Panda crossing right now. Another Notre Dame runner.
And you know, again, if you take a notice at the finish chute, the course finish workers, they're responsible for getting those runners through that chute, because the first thing they want to do
Look
is
at
fall.
this. Here
There you
is a
go.
race.
There's a race right there.
That's what we were talking about, that need to pass. You saw the Scott girl come up trying to bump Notre Dame. I'd be willing to say Jerry had told her, we need that girl.
Yes.
It's difficult. I don't know if you all were able to count. I've got 4 Scott girls in. Did their 5th cross? I'm not
I
sure.
didn't see the 5th person. I don't know if she came by or not, but I know that between.
I'm not sure. Campbell just finished. That's a third. Their third or fourth.
That was their third, I think.
Is
So
this their third?
I think the race seems to be between Notre Dame and Scott at this point.
Yes.
And you know, I think the whole day could be spent talking about human interest stories from runner to runner. I'm sure every runner has their own little story about cross country and the purpose of their running, and sometimes runners run for other people, and sometimes runners dedicate races to other people, and there's story after story, and that's what's unique about cross country.
Certainly. We just had a couple of Dixie girls finish.
What a great shot by the camera crew there.
Yes. I'd like to give kudos to the aerial shots that we have. We actually have 2 cameras posted on top of Woodland Middle School, and it's cold, it's windy up there. Those 2 young men are doing a fantastic job and giving it all for this coverage. We certainly appreciate that.
Yeah, and I'm enjoying it myself.
This is Dixie's number 4 coming in. Dixie may post a fairly decent team score.
Like Rod has mentioned several times today, this is where the coaches are probably pulling their hair out, trying to figure out where's that number 5.
Yeah. And at this level, once you get to the region, sometimes you can have that unsung hero, someone that just pulls the race of their life off. I mean, you least expect them to come up and give you the finish that they do, but that can change.
Yeah, and I experienced that as a coach. I had sometimes number 4 runners come up and finish second place for me. So, you know, it's amazing to see when the stakes are on what happens to people.
Well, this is exciting, just to see these young ladies giving it their all.
And, you know, as a runner, when you're running the race, that's what's on your mind. And to be able to potentially sit down and watch this race again on TV and to be able to actually do it from a relaxed state of mind instead of, you know, being in the middle, it's kind of a treat. So, once again, this is a real pleasure to have this race on television because it's, I know for myself, it would have been nice to be able to sit back and watch my race and see what I did well and not so well, you know.
Well, they're watching it, you know, all the folks in the viewing audience are watching it on Channel 22, but we would certainly like to encourage them all to cross over and watch Cable Channel 20, which is Sports Beat, the Kenton County Schools Network, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and catch the exciting sports action in Kenton County.
And, you know, again, it's such a treat as a parent and a relative to be able to see somebody that you're rooting for running, and, you know, even if you get to see this on TV, it's a real treat.
We'd also like to remind our viewing audience right now to stay tuned because we will be having the award ceremony immediately following this race, and that will give them an opportunity to see the top individuals receive their medals and all the teams receive their trophies. See, the racing still starts now as well. Look at this little pack coming in, and all of these ladies, you know, are running their hearts out, you know, to give that team that extra point.
This is a sprint to the end here. Connor runner here looking strong with her finish.
These last few runners could be the difference between first, second, third, or fourth, and the top 4 teams go. So there's a lot running, you know, on these final finishers.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, you could there very well could be the difference in the 6th and 7th person making the difference in the race today.
Well, my hat's off to all these young ladies and the young men that have ran here today. They've got nothing to be ashamed of no matter where they finish. I think we still have a few runners in the woods, not many.
In what other sport can we sit in a 2 or 3 hour time period and watch, 240 competitors, 250 athletes compete?
Exactly. The numbers, Jamie, for this sport are incredible. I've said this over and over, you know, through every race. This is the only sport that I'm aware of where there's a no-cut clause. Everybody makes it. You run beautiful invitational meets all through the season. It culminates on a beautiful, you hope, afternoon like this in late October, early November, and you see this many young people competing. It says an awful lot about high school sports. Beautiful shot. Congratulations. You know, we may be very lucky. I know, tongue-in-cheek earlier, I said I was kind of sorry that it happens on a day where the leaves were all off the trees. But if the leaves had been on, they might have been beautiful. But we wouldn't have been able to capture those beautiful wood shots. That's for sure.
And And, things seem to be worked out pretty well. Jamie and I went down in the woods earlier and looked at the course and talked strategy and looked at the potential problem areas, and everybody seemed to come out pretty well in it.
Well, I didn't see any muddy legs. I didn't see any
That's what I
evidence
was
that
afraid
anybody
of.
had fallen. That's
Right.
for sure.
I was afraid to see some muddy jerseys, and we certainly didn't today.
Very clean race.
Yes.
Overall. Very clean race.
And my compliments to the staff here at Scott High School, because a very well-run day.
Well, it's obvious that they've taken this to the next level. The fact that they went out, they got all of the fencing, they roped it off, they kept the spectators back. I know that has been a problem at this meet in the past because the spectators could cross over, and they actually told everyone that if the spectators got out on the course, your team could be disqualified. So, well-controlled, well-ran meet. Credit to Jerry and his staff and his parents, that's for sure.
And, again, when you look at the size of a day like this, and you look at the amount of training that it must have taken to have people where they're supposed to be and when they're supposed to be there, again, it's to commend compliment to Jerry and his staff and his team and his volunteers and everybody here at Scott High School.
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't give special kudos to Jerry's assistant directors, to Dee McElfresh and to Ed Smith. I know they helped coordinate all this, and kudos to them for all their fine efforts. And I wish I could read this list of 50, 60 people that are here that made this event take place, but that's next to impossible.
Well, I noticed the starter, Gordon Gabocock, is a name well recognized in Kentucky and Northern Kentucky. He's been around for a long time, and he's certainly a recognized name in cross country.
Yeah, Gordon Bocock used to be down in Pulaski County.
Yes.
Yes, he was the coach down there, a couple of state championships out of Pulaski County.
And you'll notice, just looking through the volunteer list, some of the last names are very similar to the names on the team roster. So that tells you that there's a lot of parents and brothers and sisters that are on this volunteer crew, and that's another thing nice about cross country.
Here's some applause for a young lady coming through the finishing area.
Well, again, no one is a loser in this sport. If that young lady beat her personal best, she was a winner.
Yes.
And again, I would like to remind the viewing audience that immediately following this race, we will have the awards ceremony, and I hope everyone will stay tuned to see the awards.
Well, Tim, once again, I'd like to say what a privilege it's been not only to work with you because you're one of my heroes in my life, but just to see this on TV again, being a runner from Northern Kentucky for years, and boy, wishing that this was something around when I was a high schooler. This has been a real treat. It's been a real joy for me to be here.
Well, I'd like to give a personal thanks to Jim Best, the executive producer for Kenton County Schools Network Television, and to the folks at the CPC, because, again, it has taken a couple of years to bring this together, but without their work, their hard work, and their cooperation, this wouldn't have happened. And I hope all the folks in the viewing audience will let them know exactly how much they appreciate coverage of an event like this. This isn't a high-profile sport, but, again, it's a sport where we have a large number of people involved. Jamie, I think you said we've got over 200 and some runners out here today representing a plethora of schools. So I think Northern Kentucky as a whole won today.
And, being off air, Jamie and I were sitting here, and we've had dozens of people come up and ask about what's going on and when it's going to be shown, and the interest is there. We've just had so many positive comments about being here, and so this is once again a great thing that we did today. I'm real tickled with
well, this is the number one reason to have cable television in Northern Kentucky, because this allows you to see Northern Kentucky sports. This is the only place that you're going to see it is with the cable.
And again, especially with a sport like this where sometimes the coverage and the glory is not there, and being a participant in it myself, it's just a real treat to see, being able to see it on TV and to see relatives and friends and former students that you had I think it's just a real joy to watch this thing the whole day unfold.
Well, I think we are about to begin the awards ceremony, and with that, let's turn it right over, I think, to Jerry Moore, who will be announcing the winners today. Jason, can you all pick up the loudspeaker up top? Okay. Sounds good to me. You want us to go over there to try and do interviews? Are we? If not, then that's okay. Okay, we'll see about doing that. That may be difficult in, well, I don't know. Some people may be going out this way. We may move them down close to the, well, right. Jason, your whole staff did a tremendous job. All three of us, I don't know